everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do my second video where I recommend 3 Japanese books for your reading level. So this video is definitely catered to people who are learning Japanese. But definitely feel free to watch the video if you're curious about what's out there in Japan that maybe hasn't been translated yet, because out of the 3 books, only 1 has been translated at this moment. So maybe you'll find that interesting. But for the most part, this video is definitely dedicated to the people who are learning Japanese and are maybe ready to step up and read novels in Japanese, or maybe they already are reading novels in Japanese, but they're having trouble finding the right reading level for their, current Japanese level skills, or just want new recommendations for books. So let's get on. So I have 3 books, and today I wanted to do the theme of great books for the end of the summer. It is mid-August. Right now in Japan, right now in Japan it's raining really hard because we have 3 typhoons. It's been raining all day yesterday, all day today. It's very, very gloomy. Just incessant rain that hasn't stopped even once. Like, it either gets really, really strong or slightly weak, but it's not stopping. But typically end of summer means fireworks, it means all the different festivals, it means the heat getting at its most intense and its most humid. The cicadas are ringing and just crying, and they're just, trying to get as loud as possible to find their mate that everyone else has found a mate, but they haven't. So it's really, it's a time of year that really just has so much almost emotion connected to the weather. It's a really, really interesting time of year, so it's perfect for reading. So let's get into it. The first book I'm going to introduce is the only book that does have a translation, so definitely use that to your advantage if maybe you still need to do comparisons with the English to just check to see if you're actually understanding the content. But it's a very easy read, so you shouldn't have to. So the first book is 夏と花火と私の死体 by Otsuichi. So summer, fireworks, and my corpse. So this is a horror story. Otsuichi is very, very famous for doing these really moody horror stories, full of suspense, full of terror. They're not grotesque. Only one story I've ever read was a little bloody. But they're not grotesque at all, but they just have that really big sense of suspense that just really keeps you turning the page, which is perfect when you're trying to find books to read in Japanese, because the more you want to turn the page, the more you're going to want to read, which is better for you improving your skill. So this particular book, this particular book in Japanese has 2 stories. I should mention that the translation has 3 stories. It has an additional story in it that I'm not familiar with, so I don't know, I can't really say much about it, but just to know the original book that I'm holding right now has 2 stories. The first one is 夏と花火と私の死体, Summer, Fireworks, and My Corpse, and that has 143 pages to it, and it's basically about 3 child protagonists. 2 of them kill the 3rd, and they're trying to hide the corpse, and their narration is from this murdered child, and it's just really good. It's very interesting because at the same time there is a child kidnapper in the that has been going around in the surrounding villages, and so the children are trying to use that to help hide the corpse and sort of spread the or like take the doubt off of them, like the suspicions off of them. And as is typical of Otsuichi, there is always a twist, and you might not see it coming in this one, so it's really, really great fun. The second story is called Yuko, and that has 68 pages, so in total this volume has 214 pages. And Yuko is about this maid who enters the servant of this home, and she is told that she has full leeway to take care of the home and clean it and everything. The only thing she can't do is enter the room of the lady of the house on the 2nd floor because she is sick and she needs to not be disturbed. and that is all fine with our maid until she starts to doubt if the lady of the house actually exists and isn't maybe a figment of the husband's imagination. So she goes on a mission to save the husband, and this leads to just disaster. So it's really, really fantastic. I'm going to say that the first story, 夏と花火と私の死体, is the easier one to read. It has more dialogue, and because our protagonists are children, the dialogue is a lot easier because it's children who are speaking. The second story, Yuko, does have adult protagonists. It is also set in a previous era. It's not a modern story, or at least the setting of the story is not modern. So that leads to a little bit more of a lyrical descriptions. Although Otsuichi is not exactly a lyrical author, he's very much to the front. He just gives you the fact, he gives you the setting, he adds dialogue as necessary, and he's just there to build the tension. But Yuko definitely has more like talk about like how the estate has a bamboo forest in the back, and there's a particular stone, and those words might be less common than say the first story, which is just children talking about trying to bury their friend basically. So although Natsu to Hanami to Watashi no Shitai is the longer story, in general it is actually the easier story. And it's just, I mean, it's just gonna be great end of summer fun, you know, try and get those corpses buried before the rice fields fill up. So really, really great fun. The next two books that I want to introduce are both by the same author, Yazuki Michiko, and that is 14歳の水平線, which is 14 on the horizon, and then the second book is called 静かな日々, which if I were to translate, you know, I think I would change the title maybe to like summer days, end of summer reminiscence, things like that. But I wanted to introduce two books by her. First, because she's excellent author, and she's so good at giving that end of summer vibes. My favorite actually is 14歳の水平線. I absolutely fell in love with this book when I read it. I was just blown away by how beautiful it was. I thought it was just this beautiful coming of age story that really, I would love to do it myself, but I'm not a translator, but I still would love to translate this myself. I think it would be absolutely fantastic. But I wanted to introduce both books because they do provide different things for your potential reading level. So starting with 14 on the horizon, I'm gonna say that this is the most perfect summer read. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's a coming of age story of our protagonist Kanata as he visits the Okinawan island that his father grew up in. So you get all this rich island history and life, and it's full of superstition, and it's absolutely beautiful. And the thing that's really nice about this is that not only does Kanata have this whole story with his father and obviously the relatives he have that still live on the island, but he is also there because he's kind of a problem child. He's having issues back on the mainland in the big city, and so his father sent him to the island to sort of calm him down, help him find himself. So he joins this sort of summer camp for kind of troubled boys, and he is with all these boys, and they've kind of separated themselves into cliques. So you have the soccer boys, and then you have the boys who are on the outskirts, you know, the kid with the glasses, the kid who's not very athletic, you know, the things like that. And so they sort of separate, and they have to do these activities for camp, and they have to create, you know, they have to make the barbecues by themselves, and it's just a really great atmosphere. So you have these two stories that just really help our protagonist Kanata find himself and really understand his father's life, so to understand where his father's come from, which means he understands where he comes from, and he understands why his father is the way he is. And then with this, adding on with the superstitions of this Okinawan island, it was just, I just absolutely love this. It is long. It is a book at 354 pages, so it is on the longer side, but you won't notice that it's 354 pages. One, because it has lots of dialogue. It really does have lots of dialogue. I would say it's almost 3/4 dialogue. She only really uses descriptors to sort of set the setting, obviously, to give descriptions of the island, to tell us where our characters are going, also to describe the sort of local legends and the local superstitions. But it is about boys having fun and just like doing, you know, shenanigans amongst themselves on this island. And because of that, it's very, very fast read. So even though it does have 354 pages, because of all the dialogue, it is a very, very fast read. So I would say that this book is it's going to be an easy read if you're a strong N2. And so a strong N2 is someone who's basically, you've maybe already have passed the N2 exam and you're about to start N1. This should be a pretty much an easy read for you. But I'm going to say it's also a great read for someone who's a weak N2 reading level. So you've only recently graduated to N2. You've started reading all your, learning all your kanji for the N2 level, and you're getting a little better with the grammar. I would say this is a good read for you too, because it's going to push you, but it's going to push you within your limits. So yeah, I think anyone on the N2 spectrum is really, really going to have a great time with this book. And even if you're N1, it's a beautiful story. I absolutely, definitely recommend this. So then the other book by the same author, Shi Shizuka na Hibi, is the sort of same sort of story. And actually this is a very popular book with middle school students. So that kind of should give you an idea of what the target level is, because if you're again N2, this is going to be a really easy read for you because you will have already learned all the kanji that are in this. Although I actually recommend this for N3s. Yeah, if you're a strong N3, you can definitely read this. So let's get to what it is about and why that makes it an easy read. So basically, our protagonist is narrating from the future. He is an adult and he's narrating about this, basically what he considers to be the turning point in his life, and that is the time that he came to live with his grandfather. Basically his mother and her father are very much estranged, but she's kind of trying to build this life for herself as a single mother, and so she is going to move, but our protagonist doesn't want to move. So instead of our young middle schooler moving, his mother decides that he's going to go live with his grandfather. And this book is just him finding himself and understanding this sort of tense relationship between his grandfather and his mother. And it's also about him making friends with the local boys at the local baseball yard. He's not really good at baseball, but the local boys are there to encourage them, to encourage him, and are just saying like, you know what, we're just here to have fun. We're here to enjoy our summer. And this really is a really, really great end of summer read. This book is 258 pages, so it's shorter than Juyonsai no Suihei-sen. But it has less dialogue and much more description. But the thing is that you shouldn't let that scare you. So less dialogue, so more dialogue in this book makes this easier to read in one sense, but more description in this book makes this actually easier to read than this one, because the setting is a lot more reader friendly, because it's a middle schooler doing middle school things in the summer, and he's just playing baseball. So these are all going to be words, these are all going to be kanji that you've already learned at the N3 level, definitely at the N2 level, but at the N3 level even. If you're a strong N3, you should have already learned the words in this book. Because the thing is, this one does have ideas of superstition, it does have island life in it. So it definitely has more words that are going to be unfamiliar, but it will also have a little bit of Okinawan dialect. And because it has superstitions that were made up, it will have words that don't actually exist. And if you're not at the level where you can parse what's real and what's not, or like what's made up and what's not, you might have a little bit more trouble with this. But this book, everything is just, you know, boys playing baseball, having fun in the summer, and that makes this an actually easier read than this. But for me personally, this is the book that I find that I recommend more because I think it's just amazing. It's superb. It's just beautiful and just really, really fantastic. So I don't know, I would say use this book to improve your reading speed. And what I mean by that is that if there's kanji you don't know, don't look it up. Just keep reading. Like, use this to see how fast you can read a book in like a very short amount of time. And then use this and look up words you don't know, although I mean there really shouldn't be too many, but look up words you don't know. Just really enjoy the beautiful, beautiful story. So there you go. Those are the 3 books that I recommend you try out at this time of year for great end of summer reading. Definitely good for N3 to N2. I think you will really, really enjoy these, and I hope to see that, you know, more people dipping into these. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!